Jon Gosselin broke his heart while discussing the tragic agreement he reached with his daughter, a scene that moved viewers. He delivered an impassioned speech, his eyes welling up with tears about the struggles and triumphs that many parents face in isolation. The father-daughter bond is delicate, and today we'll go into Jon's open confession, the hidden causes of their broken relationship, and what he truly wants his daughter to know. From the outside looking in, Jon Gosselin appeared to be living the dream life with his 8 children, his nationally broadcast show, and his once great marriage. However, a subtle storm was beginning to develop beyond the illuminated cityscape. Shooting constantly and having sextuplets and twins was incredibly stressful. Even though he desperately needed the show's revenue to keep the lights on, Jon had conflicting feelings about keeping his children in front of the cameras. When he and Kate publicly divorced in 2009, everything changed. The loss of routine for Jon affected all 8 of his children. Mie, his daughter, became an object of his greatest anguish. Was once someone she greatly admired. These days, communication between the father and daughter is minimal at best. Jon recently confessed in a heartbreaking conversation that he and Mie and Kara, her twin sister, have not spoken to each other in more than a decade. The depth of this agreement is unknown to everyone. Seeing his children grow up and go away is more than just a pain for Jon. It's an ongoing battle. He reflects on the formative moments of his relationship with his daughter, which were marked by intense emotions. A simple phone call is now all he wants. When Mie publicly accused her brother Colin of acting hatefully, the hurt became more apparent. Jon attributes these remarks to Kate's influence. By "I don't accept this," he meant exactly what he said. He says the story Mie told doesn't match up with the Colin he knows. Jon also expressed his feelings of helplessness in that interview. The media's fixation, personal animosity, and ongoing legal battles have created an impasse that appears impossible to close. He detailed how Kate shoved him aside, separating him from 6 of the children. In contrast, Colin and Hannah chose to live with him rather than their brothers, forging their own path in life. Jon felt better after making that connection, but it widened the chasm between him and his other children. Moye was once portrayed on television as an energetic young girl. Her current age is 22. Her perspective on her family's history is just one of many things that has transformed. She keeps quiet about Jon most of the time, and when she does, it's typically heated. Jon wishes they could start over, but their animosity from years past prevents them from communicating. While he doesn't entirely hold Kate to blame, he does say that her story has strained his relationship with his children. Even though their thoughts are colored by a tangled history, he is aware that every child has their own unique perspective. Jon experiences emotional flashbacks whenever he reflects on how swiftly things went south in their relationship. As a result of this, whether Mie will ever allow him back into her life is an unknown. But the father who once held her hand through her small fears now watches from a distance. Problems persist. Jon Gosselin was disappointed to see that his life remained fraught with tension following his time in the limelight. Following the conclusion of the show, news websites utilized all of his performances. He was a part-time DJ and waiter, but he felt like everyone was staring at and judging him the whole time. He found the transition from a life immersed in cameras to his regular routine to be strange. The irony is that he was never truly able to escape the spotlight because his family issues kept making headlines. Things between them got worse when Kate kept working on spin-offs with their kids, in Jon's opinion. Following the breakup, he expressed a desire to safeguard the children's privacy, but Kate expressed her disagreement. Keeping the show running provided her with financial stability, in her opinion. At every turn, Jon's attempts to speak out were characterized by negative portrayals. claims of family separation intensified the already present tensions. It seemed like his children, particularly Mie, were excluding him from their lives, according to Jon. Mie occasionally discusses the difficult history of her family on her active social media accounts these days. A mix of sadness and anger washes over Jon as he reads every public comment, according to Jon. Midway through 2023, Mie made allegations regarding Colin's conduct that hinted at his harmful actions. Jon vehemently refuted these assertions. Even though he knows Mie can think for herself, he claims Kate is feeding her these ideas. To this day, he has no idea whether the problem can be solved. In a recent interview, Jon spoke to Mie face to face, but he was visibly nervous. "I still love my daughter. I want her to know that," he added, "but I also asked for understanding for Colin." He went on to explain that Mie had no idea what her brother was going through in life, and he asked if there was anything he could say to his estranged daughter. Colin has reportedly matured considerably and enlisted in the Marines in recent years, according to Jon. The accusations, in his opinion, are baseless, relics from when things were tough for them. The legal issues remain complex while this is happening. It will be difficult for them to get along again due to child custody agreements, protection orders, and the animosity from their TV show. According to Jon, he has repeatedly attempted to contact Mie and Kara, but they have consistently ignored him. Not that he entirely holds them responsible, but he does bring up the point that negative news stories impact people even after the cameras have stopped rolling. Things get more complicated when you have brothers who went in different directions. Jon is Jon's rock, and his children Hannah and Colin grow close to him. The rest of the group stays with Kate as they grow up and rarely interacts with Jon or one another. We hoped that these kids would be able to think for themselves and avoid the drama of family disputes. On the contrary, past hurts keep resurfacing. When they talk, Jon looks exhausted but determined. This guy claims he's had enough of playing by other people's rules. He longs for the day when he can have a private conversation with Mie, free from the prying eyes of the media and solicitors. Whether or not that dream can be realized remains an open question to him. The daily reminders of a family that was once whole sustain him. Optimism remains elusive to him. Behind closed doors there is strife. Despite what you may have seen on TV, Jon Gosselin's Pennsylvania house is far from glitzy. These days, he and Stephanie, his girlfriend, try to keep things calm in a simple room. However, that serenity is frequently disturbed by external news. The insanity happening behind closed doors can reawaken in him with the slightest mention of his separated children in the news or a social media post. How did things become so complicated? This is a question that has been plaguing Jon for quite some time. I found Colin's struggle to be particularly distressing. In the beginning, Colin was an introverted kid who felt overwhelmed by his family's outsized personalities. Reportedly, he struggled with behavioral issues while he was in his early teens. People are still wondering why Kate decided to place him in a special center. Jon claims he was misinformed and that Colin was forcibly left alone. After some time, Colin moved in with Jon, and he confided in him about his struggles with emotional distress and being ignored. There has long been Jon's position to defend Colin, arguing that his concerns were misunderstood and ignored. In the long run, Colin's decision to enlist in the Marine Corps demonstrated his desire to effect positive change. However, tensions remain with his brothers. The recent accusations that Colin might be dangerous made by Mie deeply wounded Jon. Since she hasn't seen Colin in years, he explains to her, how could she possibly say such things? According to Jon, Mie's remarks reveal her underlying issues with him. He has made an effort to maintain composure, but his pain is evident. This public bickering is taking a toll on Jon, and Stephanie can see it. She claims he is a helpless parent who frets over his children's exposure to media messages. Furthermore, she mentions his imperfections, such as Jon's tendency to let his anger control him at times. However, she perceives a father who genuinely wishes to support his children, even on days when they chuckle briefly again. The following news cycle has the power to reawaken long-buried animosity. Much of the fighting, according to Jon, happens in the shadows. Important documents, interminable legal maneuvers, and private notes are not visible to those who are interested. He is afraid disclosing further information would jeopardize his already tenuous prospects of re-establishing contact with Mie and the others, but he is certain that people would reconsider if the complete story were to be revealed. Jon tries to avoid dwelling on the specifics of a family reunion because he knows it will bring on negative emotions. He suggests focusing on little victories like Colin's progress or Hannah's contentment with her life as a way to keep moving forward. He claims these moments sustain him, but the anguish of Mie's death lingers on. Jon expresses his concern that she may not recognize him upon their reunion, in one of his rare instances of candor. Whether love can mend the deep wounds that lie dormant behind closed doors is now the central obsession of the father who used to lull his daughter to sleep. Even though he is well aware that every moment will conclude in heartbreak, he clings to hope daily. Hope, like family ties, can be frail. Kate Gosselin will not be swayed. Over the years, she has been described as fiercely independent, possessive, and domineering. She may not speak to Jon often, but her words carry a lot of meaning when they do. After the divorce, she continued appearing on TV shows, claiming she needed the money to support her children. Some people questioned whether she was truly prioritizing her children or if she was merely pursuing fame. But Kate's supporters insist that, for whatever reason, she always made sure they had food and shelter. Many of Kate's decisions, particularly her decision to maintain the cameras operational, are controversial with Jon. Mie, Kara, and the sextuplet's youth were ruined by the constant attention, according to him. He won't give up on that idea. However, according to Kate, the kids were totally cool with being filmed. She believes the show provided them with opportunities, presents, and vacations they would not have gotten any other way. They seemed to be everywhere since they were on television. Kate refused to back down when Jon spoke out, explaining that she believed he was simply upset about the diminishing importance of his role. Colin and Hannah's move-in with Jon only made matters worse. Kate expressed her anger and the manipulation of those two children in a public forum. Colin seemed to have behavior issues that required special attention in her remarks about him. Jon claims that he is no longer residing with them because Kate exacerbated these issues so she could get away with removing Colin. Mie has made public remarks that revealed their animosity towards one another. The fact that Kate has refrained from criticizing Mie for her comments about Colin is something that Jon finds intriguing. He takes it as evidence that Kate supports a narrative that paints Colin as distressed. The fact that 6 of Kate's children do not have a close relationship with Jon has left her stance unclear whenever the question has been raised. She implies that they left because of Jon's actions by saying they went their own way. She is careful to avoid discussing details in order to respect the family's privacy. But they still appear to believe she can significantly influence their feelings for Jon. The fact that the children are unaware of the whole story saddens him. On the other hand, Kate probably believes her perspective is correct. In brief interviews with members of the press in 2023, Kate expressed her deep love for all 8 of her children. She was very careful not to mention Jon by name, which was picked up by those present. Focusing on the children's welfare, she avoided providing clear answers when asked about the possibility of reunion. Even though Kate doesn't care, outsiders are pushing for the family to reconcile. She is being very careful and will not change her mind until she believes it is in her children's best interests. Some people still think Kate is acting out of control complexes rather than genuine concern. In Jon's view, she is an unyielding force that will not budge no matter how much he begs her. He holds out hope that she will realize the significance of mending past wounds. At this time, Kate's unwavering position remains a significant obstacle. Jon begins to question whether their shattered world can ever be repaired as the days pass, compounding the misery and bewilderment that separates Mie and her brothers. It only strengthens Kate's position that his estranged daughter remains silent all the time. Point of view from Mie to the general public. Jon Gosselin is no longer the sassy twin who made fun of her brothers on television. As she became older, memories of her adolescence emerged, revealing a person battling the relentless scrutiny of the media. Social media has made Mie, who is now in her early 20s, an integral cog in the wheel of the Gosselin family drama. People who remember her from her childhood will hear her voice, but her perspective is unclear due to her long relationship with Kate and her lack of communication with Jon. Mie frequently expresses her anger about the family's history in her sporadic posts, although she rarely mentions Jon by name. However, this year she stood up to Colin, accusing him of being emotionally and physically abusive, and her stance received a lot of attention. A number of her admirers questioned why she would accuse her brother in the absence of evidence, and the comment received a great deal of criticism. These posts were seen by Jon as further evidence of Kate's long-held belief that Colin has underlying issues. In contrast, Mie has not apologized or changed her mind, despite removing some posts afterwards. Her followers believe she is conflicted about whether to remain loyal to Kate or seek refuge from the mayhem. She hasn't found an adequate way to express her pain since her divorce, according to some. While some see her as taking control of her narrative, others see her as trying to distance herself from a father she believes has abandoned the family. Jon made it plain in conversation that Colin isn't deserving of such harsh criticism and expressed his anger over Mie's comments. He came right out and asked her how she could pass judgment on her brother when they weren't even close. When asked to clarify her meaning, Mie has remained mum. Regarding her lack of speech, more questions than answers arise. Was there anything she did with Colin that put her in danger, or does her perspective solely stem from childhood tales she heard? Witnesses who know Mie well attest that she watches out for Kate and her younger siblings. Following the custody battles and continuing arguments, she may perceive Jon's side as a betrayal. Anything Jon does to try to reconcile the past could be interpreted as insincere due to the lingering resentment. The twins' shared estrangement from Jon is exacerbated by Mie's apparent strong relationship with Kara. These emotional barriers keep expanding due to the absence of honest communication. Opinions on Mie's motivations vary. Some think she's an attention whore, while others see her as a young adult navigating her complex family dynamics.